What's going on, beautiful people? Welcome on into our UFC 317 prediction show. Myself, Mr. Edward Boylan, our UFC betting analyst, is in the building. My man, it's been a minute. Good to see you. How's life out there in Scottsdale?
I'm loving it, man. It's the heat of the summer right now, so we're dealing with like 110 to 120 every day. But hey, I'll take it. I'll take it all day. A lot of cool gyms out here too. MMA Lab is out here. A bunch of UFC fighters out here. So pretty cool time, man.
You might have to get that UFC gym membership so you can go out there and start sparring with those guys. But
I don't think my joints bend that way anymore. But I'll certainly get some boxing reps in.
Yeah. As an Arizona native, I don't miss the 110, but it's like 94 out here in Pennsylvania, and I'm dying. So I almost wish I was back there. But anyway, on top of Mr. Edward Boylan, we got Mr. Kenton Heidemann in the building. Brother, good to see you. Our first UFC show with you. How we doing?
I'm doing great. I'm very excited. I'm really looking forward to getting into these fights.
Yes, sir. We're going to hop on in here, guys, starting off with our favorite ladies fight on the card. We got Cortez taking on Arajo. I don't care. Say it however you want to. It's the Cortez fight. And we got Tracy Cortez coming in here, a minus 250 favorite here in this one. The dog coming in at plus 205. Just for all you sports bettors, 20% of the bets so far are coming in on Arajo. 80% coming in on the favorite here in Tracy Cortez. Cheddar, I'm going to kick things off with you, my man. You have been a Cortez fan before, but I've seen you take her, and I've also seen you fade her. What are you going to be doing here tonight?
Yeah, I think the line is fair. I don't think there's a competitive edge here by taking Cortez. You know, if you want to bet her in a parlay somewhere and some kind of a prop, just keep it light. I think she wins the fight by decision. There's not enough on that for me to take. So I'm going to stay off of this one entirely. Prediction, though, is definitely Tracy Cortez by decision. I think her wrestling is solid enough. Obviously, you know, you're dealing with Viviane Araújo, who's got a very high caliber jiu-jitsu background. She's also 7 years older, something to keep in mind. She's 38 years old. And women's at 125, that's up there in years, you know. Heavyweights can go, to 38, 40, 42 years old. But women at 125, that's a different story. Your peak is a little earlier in your career. Tracy's in that height of her career. But I got some doubts here, which is why I'm staying off this. Normally, I'd say, you know what, minus 250, throw it in a parlay with a minus 200, and there you go. You got an even money-ish parlay that you can slam. Tracy Cortez's focus, in my opinion, is just not as UFC-focused as I want it to be. It's not as UFC-centric as it should be. You know, she's had 4 fights since Biden took office. 2 of them are against – one of them was a complete nobody. One of them is against a ranked opponent. And the loss that she had against Rose was kind of exposed her a lot. Then she has a lot of canceled fights in the meantime. You don't really see anything on socials about her training, which I don't really weigh that in too much, but she's got so much going on and this and that, the social life and all that. I just don't think her focus is really UFC-centric. You know, look, I'm not being entirely fair. I don't know her personally, obviously, but just from the outside looking in, minus 250, if you got her like minus 150, I'd probably take it. But now there's not enough there for me to take this one. But also, if you want to go the distance, it's like minus 600. So there's just really not an angle on this fight for me to bet.
Kenton, when you sit here and you look at that plus 205 number, I know Cheddar's saying Cortez more around minus 150 would be more enticing in this fight. So with that rate, does that mean at plus 205, Kenton, you'd be considering taking a shot on the dog here?
I mean, I think I would be considering that purely because Viviane Araújo's jiu-jitsu skills, I don't think they can really be denied as much as she has struggled as of recently. I think what we saw against Rose Namajunas is that she has some holes in the wrestling game. If Viviane Araújo can take advantage of that and finish the fight, then that's really the only way I see it happening. But I do think it has a pretty decent likelihood of happening.
Yeah. This is a tough one for me, man, because I think you guys are both kind of nailing it on the head here. The value's not quite there for Cortez. I do see her paths to victory here. I will say, Cheddar, I know you've been giving Cortez kind of a lot of crap, whether it's social media, not being focused, doesn't really have the power anymore to finish anybody, anything like that. I do feel like she's the more well-rounded fighter. And if both these ladies go out here and fight their best fight, I'm definitely leaning towards Tracy Cortez. So I don't love it. I'm going to be pissed if she kills my parlay, but I'm going to go ahead and put her in my parlay here, Cheddar. I'm going to go Tracy Cortez money line, but I can't get there on a distance prop. I can't get there on a method prop. Maybe if I was forced to pick, gun to my head, I'd go Tracy Cortez by decision, I guess, just to get it more favorable. I don't know if it's like -110, -120, but if it's anything worse than that, it's still not worth it. So I'm going to go ahead and lean Cortez, but at this point, guys, kind of a tough fight to call, but it kind of feels like if Cortez loses this one, it might start to be the beginning of the end for the Tracy Cortez train in the UFC. But that said here, I do want to move on through to another really, really good fight on this card. We'll go ahead and pull those odds up for you guys. This could be an absolute brawl. We got Terrence McKinney taking on, I'm not going to do it, Borshev here in this one, +140 on the dog. McKinney coming in -166. Cheddar, one thing we know about Terrence McKinney is he gets in brawls and he tends to come out on the bright side of things, but against Rabovics, he did not come out on the bright side of things. You never really know what you're going to get. This to me is Borshev has to make it through the first round, take a couple shots. Once he eats that best shot, I think Borshev becomes very, very valuable in this fight. So I'm going to go ahead and go first. I'm going with the dog in this one. I'm going to go Borshev, and I'm also going to tack on the over 1.5 rounds +175, major value in my opinion. So I'm going with the dog and the over. Where are you rocking?
Man, Vyacheslav Borshev. That is a mouthful, that name.
Thank you.
Here's the problem with this dude. I love watching him fight. He's super exciting to watch fight. He's got all the tools in his belt. He's got the wrestling. He's got the kickboxing. He certainly has the kickboxing. He's got the distance management. He's got the grit. He doesn't have a chin problem. But he somehow finds his way losing to anybody who's even close to being a ranked opponent. Now, Terrence McKinney isn't a ranked contender. He's somebody who certainly has a long way to go in his career. He's only 30, but I feel like every time I see him out there, he looks like he's 24, There's a bit of a learning curve for McKinney. Vyacheslav Borshev doesn't have that impressive of a win on his resume, in my opinion. I'm definitely leaning McKinney here. I like McKinney, and I like it by knockout. I think he's going to get it done in round 2 if I had to take a prop on it. I don't know what the odds are there, but pretty juicy plus money because McKinney is usually first round or bust. I'm banking on the fact that McKinney has actually gone back to camp after 5 fights or so of just either first round or bust, that he's actually taken his career seriously, realized, hey, I need to get deeper in fights. This can't be first round or bust. If I see my shot, I take it, or I have to be a little bit more patient. That's the risk I'm taking on McKinney here. So I'll take the prop, just throw a little sprinkle on it, and round 2 KO for McKinney. But I certainly have my money on McKinney regardless. It's not a huge one for me, but I lean that way. I like the favorite in this one. Just too many opportunities that Borshev leaves open for a guy who's as dynamic as McKinney.
You're going to take the round 2 knockout here from McKinney, but I got to ask you about my prop then. The over 1.5 rounds +175 on the over. Really big favorite there to go on the under. Are we going early second round? We going late second round? We both cashing, or are you cashing and I'm losing my ass? What's going to happen here?
I mean, it depends. If he clips him pretty badly at the end of round 1, then yeah, it's going to go in the first half. If he doesn't, and he's actually patient, and he's doing what I'm hoping he's been training and working on in camp, which is looking for the right opportunities before he swarms, then yeah, it could be later in the round. I mean, hey, I can't predict an exact minute time of finish here, but I don't think this fight goes all the way. I think if it does, the farther past round 2, the middle of round 2, once you get to the halfway point in the fight, every minute past that, it becomes a Borshev fight. So it becomes a real problem for McKinney, because even if he has trained all that and he's done a lot about patience, everything else, he's not used to the cardio. Doesn't matter how many miles you run and how many rounds you put in sparring. Getting the cardio experience also comes from going the distance in the octagon, and he hasn't done that yet.
I just can't tell if McKinney's going to have a 47-second knockout here and he's going to make this light work, a couple punches, game over, or if this is going to be the parlay killer of the night. Everyone's going to put him in their parlay, -166, looking at a bunch of value, and he's not going to get it done. So we'll see what happens. But Kenton, we got one guy on the favorite, one guy on the dog. You have to be the decider. What's the pick?
I'm going to lean towards Terrence McKinney here. I mean, as Cheddar said, if he's going back to camp and he's really taking the lessons from his last few fights, he's being more careful. I think that he could definitely get the advantage here. He's had some knockouts that have been like just the result of some sloppy mistakes, him putting himself into dangerous situations, getting himself rocked early. So I think if he can just be smarter, then I think he can take his, for one thing, he has slightly more experience, or maybe not so slightly, but he has more experience with a 16-7 record compared to Borshev's 8-5-1. So, I mean, if he can really just take those lessons, be more careful, be smarter, and get him out early, then I think Terrence McKinney has it.
Well, there you go, folks. McKinney is the pick. I am outgunned in this one here. So go ahead and rock with these guys, McKinney, to get it done. Once again, I don't hate it. I'm just value chasing in this fight. That's purely what it is for me. So we will see what happens here. But guys, we are now moving on through to the main card of the evening, the big 5 fights of the night. We're going to kick things off here with a pretty, what's the word? You know what? I'm not even going to do it. I'm just going to jump in and we're going to go ahead and talk about it because I'll say the wrong one here. So we got Talbot taking on Lima in this one. In my opinion, this has potential to be a fight of the night kind of candidate when things are all said and done. Kenton, taking a look at this one here, my man. We'll go over the odds in just a couple minutes. But the one thing I want to throw out there is that there is a pretty 50-50 split here. 49% of the bets are on Talbot thus far, 51% on Lima. 50-50 fight. Who do you like?
I mean, these are both two very strong-looking guys. Talbot has had some pretty good wins coming in from the Contender Series. But I think Lima has the advantage here. I mean, Lima has gone the distance more often. Lima has never been KO'd. And, I mean, if Lima can take it to the distance and just overpower Talbot with his wrestling, I think Lima has this as an easy win to improve to 15-1.
Ched?
I think odds makers are going to look back at this fight and they're going to go, whoa, we messed up.
I agree.
I think that this is going to be the fight where, look, everybody's got a blemish on their resume, even John Jones. What we're going to see in this fight, look, Lima, his advantage is that Raoni Barcelos just exposed Peyton Talbot. There's some clips that I can put together that I, even in one of my last reels that I showed of Peyton Talbot just like fully upright walking into takedowns. He's so used to being able to just big brother whoever is in front of him that the threat of a takedown doesn't scare him at all. And finally, somebody who's experienced put him on his butt the whole time and manhandled him on the ground. Now he knows he's got to go back to the shop, work on his grappling, and really fine-tune some of his takedown defense. But on the other side of that coin, Lima saw that film too, and Lima's going to be hunting for takedowns the whole time. Here's the difference. Lima's head movement doesn't impress me. The guy's a very dynamic fighter, but this guy isn't some world-class boxer that, is going to go out there and look like Vasily Lomachenko on the feet. Peyton Talbot is going to beat that guy's head off every single time he has an opening for a jab. It is going to be broken nose after broken nose punch over and over. He's going to mess him up. And here's the other thing that I think is the most key for this whole fight. Peyton Talbot is not afraid to get taken down. He's aware that his wrestling sucks, but it doesn't bother him. He's going to risk it to throw a knee up the middle or an elbow over the top or an uppercut or a straight right or whatever the heck he can actually pop off in that fight. He's going to risk it and be willing to accept the takedown because he's so confident. I don't think that Barcelos fight shook his confidence at all. I think he still thinks his grappling's fine. He probably worked on it a lot. Now he has even more confidence. So he's going to throw stuff up the middle and say, go ahead, take me down. But you got to eat this massive knee up the middle to do it. And Lima's going to eat some, and we're going to see who's standing at the end. Give me the no distance on this thing all day long. But my bigger bet, I got a good chunk on Peyton Talbot plus 160.
I feel like I'm going to regret this very, very badly. But I'm still willing to do it because that's what we're here for. So there's something about Lima in this fight that I really like Talbot. And when I was going through the odds, right, you always scroll through, and there's always a couple that jump out and you go, what? So I agree with you. I saw 150 and thought that's a little off. And you can find it up to plus 160, about 162 if you look around some books. So there's a lot of juice out there. My big thing is I think Lima comes second round, third round. The advantage really starts to build. I like Talbot early, and I would almost bet on a first round finish for Talbot in this fight. But I think second round, I think Talbot's going to win the first round, and all of a sudden the odds are going to change and the value's gone. So you can't bet him at that point. But I'm almost going to wait because I think end of round one, if Talbot has a good showing, I think I'm going to bet then on Lima once it goes more to a pick 'em, maybe even a dog there in that spot, because I think he wins round 2 and round 3. And I also think this fight is going to go the distance. I just think the grappling, the fight IQ, in my opinion, the durability, I just think Lima has these little tiny advantages. Now, I won't be shocked in the least when Talbot wins this fight, KOs him in the first round, does something crazy, and we're all like, wow, like you mentioned, what a mistake. But it just feels to me like this line is what it is for a reason, but I still don't necessarily agree with it. So I'm going to wait, try to get some value, and basically bet on a dude to win 2 rounds in a row to finish the fight and win the whole thing. So I'm going to go Lima, even though the easy thing to do is just jump on the Talbot train, but I'm not going to do that because, if I'm watching, I want to have some fun. So I'm going Lima. You're going to go with the dog and Talbot, and I'm sorry, Kenton, you're going to go with
Lima. I'm going by Lima specifically by unanimous decision.
By unanimous decision.
I'll take it. That's a fair prop. I'm honestly, the thing that's most shocking to me about this fight is that the money split because Peyton Talbot's plus 160. If that Barcelos fight didn't happen, Peyton Talbot would be minus 1,500. So we get it. He got exposed. The wrestling got exposed. Fine. But the fact that 50% of bettors out there are immediately fading Peyton Talbot after one bad fight, that blows my mind. The value is over Talbot.
I feel the opposite, though. I feel like you never see the plus 160 dog have 50% of the money. That's a lot of money.
That's true. What I'm saying is I'm saying that the public, I'm shocked that the public thinks that the sports book got it right. When the money split like that, the public kind of generally agrees with the sports book. This is what the line should be. There's not a competitive advantage on one side. So the fact that the public is like, yeah, Peyton Talbot should be a dog here. Maybe I'll take a sprinkle on the dog. Maybe I'll take a sprinkle on the favorite, whatever. I think that's wrong. This fight, in my opinion, at the absolute least should be a pick 'em just because of what Peyton Talbot did to a guy who, believe it or not, I really believe Cameron Simon is a B-rate version of Felipe Lima. They have a lot of similarities in how they fight. Physique-wise, they're very similar. And, Cameron Simon's got a long way to go. He's a little younger, but I got a lot of faith in that dude. But look, this is crazy to get him at plus 160. He's never been less than like minus 1,000 in almost every fight that he's been in. So I just don't think that one loss to a very seasoned Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu veteran is going to really mess up Talbot that much. He's throwing hands and he's risking it. He's going to be throwing bombs, and one of them is going to land because Lima doesn't move that well.
What I would say in response to that is that I think that it's understandable that the odds kind of flip there when you have a wrestler like Lima, who is also 14-1 going into this fight. He's a strong wrestler.
True.
And I mean, Talbot just got exposed, and there comes the question, how much can you really do like after you just lost to a jiu-jitsu fighter? So I think it's understandable. I do agree, though, that I do think it is a little bit closer. So as much as I do understand it, I do also think that it should be closer to a pick'em.
Totally fair. Yeah, it's going to be a unique matchup for both guys. They don't have any background against similar opponents yet, so it'll be interesting to see how it plays out for sure. I like the take, though.
Well, Cheddar, the problem is now you're calling me out, right? Because now the sharp better in me looks like a dumbass if I lose this fight. And I completely agree with you. It's like everything says I should bet on Talbot. And it's literally the reason why I'm not going to do it. Like, and that's stupid reverse psychology. Call it what you want. I get it. But you can't tell me if both guys fight the fight we expect them to fight. I think Lima does have this edge, but it's a minus 120 edge. It's not a minus 200 edge.
let me ask something real quick. If 80% of bets were on Talbot, where would you be right now?
Oh, I'd be on Lima.
Right. If
100%.
it were the other way around, if 85% of the bets are
but
on
if
Lima,
there's 80% of money on anything, I'm probably not taking it.
yeah. So it's 50-50. They kind of agree with the odds. The public does at least. And, I don't think this is a traditional reverse line movement, fade the public type of, that you see in the NFL, but and NBA, but
if
not so
Lima
much in UFC.
Was 80%, I would be on Talbot.
Yeah.
I just feel like the odds makers are okay with the action coming in and they're not adjusting. And that's just weird to me. And I know you're saying because they fucked up. You might be right.
Forget the line and forget where the money's at. Who do you think's going to win if you had to put money down? Forget the line. Forget about money. Just if you had to make a prediction on a regular prediction page or whatever, just no even money, no bet. Just if you had to give me how you think that fight's going to play out, forget about odds, forget about where the money is. What do you see happening in round one? Just give me that.
Exactly what I said. I think Talbot wins round one. I think he cracks him. I think he comes out very, very strong. He's got a point to prove. I think he wins round 1, 10-9 on what should be all the judges' scorecards. Maybe one judge screws him. But I think it's 10-9 Talbot, and then I think it's tied up Lima in the second round. I think Lima wins. I think it's 2-1, and I think it's 28-27.
The only way Lima has an advantage going in, the only way Lima has an advantage going into the later rounds, in my opinion, is if the fight is on the ground in round one. If the fight's standing in round one and Talbot wins and they go into round two, Talbot's winning the fight because he's made it through a round without getting held down. He maybe got taken down, but he didn't get held down. And that's like the only thing that's going to wear his tank is being held on the ground, right? If Lima couldn't do that in round one, he ain't going to do it in round two. And he sure as hell isn't going to do it in round three. So he's going to get
That's where I disagree. That's where I disagree. I think he's going to let Talbot fire in round one. And I think then in round two, he starts to control things. And I think round three is Talbot's corner saying, you got to go, stay off the ground, keep this guy on the feet. And I think Lima gets the takedown when he needs to. He makes it boring. He lays on him for the last 2 minutes. And two or three of the
Talbot's cardio early to wear him down, though. We saw that in the Barcelos fight. Otherwise, look at what happened in the Simon fight. I mean, or any other fight that he's had that lasted more than 45 seconds. I mean, Simon at least made it to round two and he took a beating, but Talbot looked like his heart rate was 52 in round two.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy that was in there, like, he wasn't even breathing heavy at all because it was a boxing match and he's got that kind of cardio. Wrestling cardio is different. We know that. Lima absolutely must get a takedown and at least a minute and a half, 2 minutes of control time in round one if he's got a chance in this fight, in my opinion.
Folks, only time will tell. Saturday night. Make sure you tune in. UFC 217, opening fight of the main card. But then we're rolling through to the second main card fight. We got Beneil Dariush taking on Renato Moicano. Pretty much a pick 'em here on DraftKings, specifically a slight favorite here for Moicano, -115, -105 coming in for Beneil. Kenton, looking at this one, my man, let's just go off of these odds here. Let's call Dariush a baby dog in this fight. Do you think he deserves to be a tiny dog here?
I mean, I do agree with the odds here. I was having a really tough time when I was taking a look at this fight, thinking about which way I wanted to go in terms of who's going to win. And I do think it's a very close fight. I mean, just starting off, you can look at their records. There's 20-6-1, and that's Moicano. And then there's Dariush, who's 22-6-1. And of course, the record doesn't tell the whole story. But I mean, when you take a closer look at it, I would say they've kind of fought the same degree of opponents throughout their careers. They started around the same time back in 2014. But what I would say is that Moicano does have a slight advantage here. And I say that because we have Dariush, who is on a 2-fight losing streak. And I think if he lets that get into his head, then that could cause some trouble, especially as he's getting closer to the end of his career and that title shot is getting further and further away from him.
Okay. Cheddar, looking here, my man. I know that, well, I shouldn't say I know that. I believe that you and I are fans of Renato Moicano. I know I am. I know that Dariush is one of those fighters. You know, I don't really love dudes that lay on dudes. But for dudes that lay on dudes, I think he's a relatively busy guy. When he is standing, he's willing to exchange. He's got the power in the arms. Do you believe he deserves to be the small dog here? Or do you think that the odds makers did finally get this line correct?
I actually think the line is just a tiny bit off. I actually think Moicano should be a little bit more of a favorite. Moicano is busier. They're the same age, right? I think. Let me check on that. I think they're the same age. Yeah, they're both 36. Moicano doesn't look 36, and Dariush looks every day of 36. And the fact of the matter is, in their last two fights, look at you get stung or you get caught or dropped by Charles Oliveira. Nobody's looking at you differently when you're a top 10 ranked fighter in the UFC in the lightweight division. Mm-hmm. But you get stung by Arman Tsarukyan and knocked out in a minute. That's a problem. Arman Tsarukyan's a wrestler. Okay. He's not known for his hands, and he doesn't really have very many knockouts on his resume, especially at this level. Something's wrong with Dariush's chin or his confidence or both. I don't know what it is. And if there's one thing that Renato Moicano does not have an issue with, it's his confidence and his chin. That dude is a gamer. He may not be the most talented, and I'm sure that if you asked him this, he'd probably agree. He's not the most talented guy in the division. He doesn't have the best boxing or the best cardio or the best judo or the best jiu-jitsu. But he even said, in a post-fight or something, I forget what it was, when he was asked about potential future opponents, he's like, this guy, Paddy Pimblett, easy money. This guy, easy money. Charles Oliveira, not so easy. He knows where he's at in the rankings. And he knows that, exactly what his talent level is. But you can't replace heart, game, chin, confidence. You can't replace those things. I don't think Dariush has it anymore. I think Dariush's talent on the ground is a little higher than Moicano, and they're probably relatively even on the feet. But Dariush has got some kind of a problem, whether it's chin, head, or both, and mental or both. I'm taking Moicano in this one. I'm not slamming it, but I'm definitely taking Moicano in this one. And I think that there's another big factor here, too, that we have to consider. I think Moicano, at his core, truly believes that he can work his way back to the belt. I do not believe Beneil Dariush believes that.
I agree.
I don't think Dariush believes that at all. I don't think his career. I think he's looking at when his last fight is going to be, and this could be his retirement fight, maybe the next one. I don't think Dariush is like, hey, this is my path to the belt. Moicano is. He's 100%. Hey, I did the UFC a favor. I fought Islam on a day's notice, 2 days notice, whatever. Like, true. I rack up a couple big wins here, and I have a chance again. And yeah, that's the difference. I'm going to take that guy all day long on a fight with even odds.
How do you feel about 72% of the bets coming in on Moicano at -115?
Doesn't bother me too much because the public money in UFC, the only time that really bothers me is when the fight's going to go to a decision. That's when it bothers me. When a fight's going to go to a decision and it could be close, then I'm like, 80-90% of the money was on one guy. How's this decision going to go? You never know what's going to happen. I'm not accusing the UFC of anything, but I am sure as hell accusing the Athletic Commission of being idiots. Derek friggin' Clearly and all the other guys out there. Oh, God.
Sal D'Amato.
Sal D'Amato. Oh, God. Every time he's the third judge, my stomach turns.
Yeah.
But anyway,
it's coming.
One screw job is coming at some point when 100%. He's the third judge. That's brutal. But yeah, at the end of the day, Moicano's got the it factor. He might not be as talented as Dariush on the ground, but I think he's more explosive. I think he's more confident. He's definitely sees a path towards the belt, and Dariush does not. Dariush is figuring out when his retirement is going to be, and who knows? He may have already figured it out and decided it's going to be Saturday.
Well. I'm jumping on the Moicano train. I absolutely love it here. And you talked about the fight the line being incorrect in the last fight. I think the line's incorrect here. I think you kind of mentioned that. Could be a little bit deeper. I make this line out to be about -135, -140 in favor of Moicano. So I see a lot of value here. Like we talked about, you guys can look around. You can find a lot of lines varying a little bit. You can even find Moicano as this mini dog at -108 and Dariush at -112. So do your research. You can find at least a -110 pick'em here in this fight if you don't want to lay it. But likewise, you can find Dariush up to +100 as well. So if you like the dog, go ahead and do your research there. Good luck to you guys. And this one should be a lot of fun. But we're moving on through here because we got to talk about a guy we've had on the show multiple times, a guy out here in Denver, Colorado. Shout out to Kenton, where he's out there right now. We love this dude, but we're tired of feeling like this dude doesn't get the credit that he deserves. Mr. Brandon Royval taking on Joshua Van, and Raw Dog coming in plus, I'm sorry, hang on. I'm going to clean the glasses off. Plus 105 here on Brandon Royval. Cheddar, you're a big-time Royval guy, not just as a fighter, also as a person. You've also interviewed him as well before. Genuine thoughts here, seeing him at plus 105. Does he deserve to be not favored here?
All I'm going to say is that I don't understand. This is one of the anomalies in sports betting. Another example is Mason Jones for the real UFC fans, why he was always a minus 500 favorite, and then he got cut. No one will ever know. Sports books just get some specific fighters wrong sometimes for like chunks of their career. This is that example. Brandon Royval is massively disrespected by the books every time he goes out there and fights. I mean, the guy just beat Brandon Moreno for the #1 contender spot, what, a year ago? And he's coming out to fight Joshua Van. Now, no disrespect to Joshua Van. I like Van a lot. I will say I enjoy watching him fight, and I don't enjoy betting him because his fights are always relatively close. He's a decision king. And in his last fight where he was a minus 500, minus 900, whatever he was favorite over Bruno Silva, he got the knockout finally. But before that, something you don't see in Royval fights, or I shouldn't say that because you do, because Royval's fighting at a different level. Ray Saruya, Cody Durden, Edgar Shairez, Felipe Bunez, Kevin Borjas, Zalgas Zhumagulov. These are middle-of-the-road fighters in the UFC at 125. These are guys, some of them are good. Some of them could make a run. Some of them, they're not making a run anytime soon. And this is the competition in Joshua Van's resume right now. And they're landing in all 3 round fights, 70, 79, 88, 50, 75, 103 significant strikes on him every time. If Zalgas Zhumagulov is landing 103 significant strikes on you, what the hell do you think Brandon Royval is going to do to you? You know what I mean? Like if Bruno Silva was able to land 76 significant strikes and Charles Johnson was able to land 88 significant strikes on you, what do you think Brandon Royval is going to do? That guy's going to absolutely torture you. He comes at you from every angle that's unpracticable. I think I just made up a word. You can't prepare for Brandon Royval. He's knocked people out with spinning elbows and knees and all kinds of insane angles that you just aren't used to. He's a phenomenal dirty boxer, which is so underrated. One thing that I've seen Brandon Royval do in his fights, although he likes to keep his head on the center line just a little bit, especially when he throws left, I do like that he's a great dirty boxer. That's a quality in the UFC that often gets written off. He does things like pull the guy's glove down to get an uppercut in there or sneak in a left hook, or actually tag somebody with a jab and hold their head for the elbow. So it forces the elbow into the face so that they can't get out of the way. That's dirty boxing. That's stuff that you don't learn by traditionally boxing or kickboxing. And that's the stuff that Brandon Royval has. Joshua Van's in for a long night, man, a long night. And Brandon Royval was a minus 225 when I saw this fight come out. In my book, I made him a minus 225, and I've already got a big one on Royval. This, to me, unless there's some underlying, unless he's coming in here with a torn MCL or a broken collarbone or who the heck knows what, unless he's coming in here with something we don't know about, this is a slam dunk. And Royval wins this fight, and he is absolutely 100% next for a title shot. Even if Pantoja loses to Kai Kara France, Royval's next. No rematch. Royval's next. He deserves it. He's fought everybody in the division. He deserves the next shot, and he'll get it.
Well, for those that don't know, every single show, maybe we'll get one on this show, maybe we won't. We'll find out. But Cheddar usually drops a Cheddar lock of the day, which is his biggest bet there is. My man, I don't want any spoilers, but just kind of throwing it out there, could a moneyline dog, potentially lock down our Cheddar lock this week? Is there
I've done it
potential
before. I've done it before. Andrea Lee back in the day has come through for me many
I
times as
remember.
a dog. But yeah, I don't know. As of now, Brandon Royval is my biggest bet. I got him at plus 102. He is plus 105 right now. I honestly would not wait any longer for this. If you're going to bet it, I would bet it now. Maybe it goes to plus 110 or whatever, after weigh-ins or during weigh-ins. Who knows? Brandon Royval doesn't have weigh-in issues historically, so I'm not really worried there. Neither does Van, that I know of. But regardless, they've always looked fine on the scales, and weigh-ins matter a lot less now in terms of outcomes of fights, because that's a whole different story. Fighters stop cutting weight earlier. It's not as much of an issue. So unless some money comes in late on Van for some bizarre reason, you're not going to miss out on more than maybe 5 points. But contrarily, or on the other side of this, I could see some money coming in late for Royval, and that line going to like minus 115, 120, 125 for Royval by fight day. So I would lock it in now at plus 105.
Kenton, are you riding the Royval plus 105 dog money?
Absolutely. I'm a big fan of Brendan Royval, a fellow Colorado boy. I remember, I forget which card this was, but this was during the time when he was ranked number 5 in the division, and he got put as the featured prelim. And I thought that was absolutely outrageous at the time, especially since there were some other fights in the main card that I thought should have definitely been on the prelims. I think it was like a Tony Ferguson fight, and this was like after he had been losing for quite a bit. So, I mean, yeah, I've always been a big fan of Brandon Royval. I think that he's got this. I think something that I would also like to mention that could come into play is Royval is known to be an explosive grappler. He has 9 submission wins on his record. So not only can he come at you from different angles in the striking, but if it gets down to it on the ground game, I think he definitely has the ability to possibly submit Joshua Van. So, I mean, I think this is an easy pick here to take the underdog, Brandon Royval.
Cheddar, you threw submission out there. Is there something to that?
I mean, I don't think we're going to see that in this fight too much, because Van has look, they're both stand-up boxers. They both want to brawl. They're both brawlers. We see submissions look at Royval's history. He's got a lot of grapplers on his resume where there's been a lot of scrambles. He got Pantoja twice, Moreno twice, Matt Schnell, Rogerio Bontorin. You've got, I don't know if the Kaikar France fight got canceled back in the day or not, if that happened. I mean, he's got a lot of grapplers on his resume. Tatsuro Taira most recently.
Yep.
So, yeah, this isn't a grappling type of exchange. Could a submission happen? Yeah. I mean, anything can happen. Personally, I very, very, very rarely bet submissions because, in my opinion, when a fight is in a position where somebody could be submitted, there are more factors that will lead that fight to finish in a knockout or a TKO than in a submission. For example, if it's past like round 2 and they're sweaty and you're trying to lock up a front headlock into a guillotine, you're probably going to slide off. So it's easier to hold the front headlock and hammer fist away. Or, maybe if you're in a rear naked choke and you can't actually cinch it in, you can't get under the chin, it's easier to hold the guy's shoulder and hammer away from bottom position or from top, wherever you are. That said, that's assuming they're going to be grappling. I mean, I don't see a world where Van gets rocked and then Royval just backpacks him. It's not his style. He's not that Oliveira type of style. So personally, I wouldn't say submission in this fight. I think they're going to be on the feet the whole time. Maybe one quick scramble exchange, but that's it. It's going to be a boxing.
So to say Royval's more likely to stomp on you or WWE
soccer kick you in the gut,
yeah.
Yeah, that's totally more his style. But one thing I do want to mention here, too, about this, since you guys both mentioned it, Brandon Royval's odds in his last fights. He's plus 105 against Joshua Van. He was plus 250 against Tatsuro Taira, and he won. He was plus 280 against Brandon Moreno, and he won. He was plus 190 against Pantoja, and he lost. He was plus 170 against Mateusz Nicolau, and he won. And he was a favorite against Matt Schnell and a slight favorite against Rogerio Bontorin, and he won both of those fights. He's been a dog in all of his most recent wins.
Raw dog, baby. Hey, y'all see the meat? What's up? So, it's all good. Okay, really quick though, just
I
to
can't
kind
wait
of
for
close
that
this
Nina
one off.
drama interview.
Oh my God. Yeah, by the way, if you guys don't watch Nina Marie, you got to watch that. Reportedly, she said she might get canceled based on the Royval episode. So it should be very, very fun. So make sure to tap into that. But 53% of the bets placed are coming in on Brandon Royval, 47% going towards Van in this fight. I got to be honest, it makes me feel even better as a Brandon Royval better that it's only 53% of the money, because with him being such a crowd favorite, I expected 65, 70%. 50-50? Say less. Like you said, Cheddar, I think plus 105. Could you get greedy? Could you wait for plus 110? Maybe, but why do it? It's plus money. Just go ahead and take it. So we're going to go ahead and rock with Brandon Royval. All three of us taking raw dog to represent and get it done. Good luck to our dog, Brandon, there in that one. Then moving on through here to the main event of the evening, a guy who Brandon Royval has a little bit of history with, who he's also going to have circled after he gets this win here. Pantoja taking on Kai Kara France, minus 238 here for Pantoja, plus 195 for Kara France. Cheddar, I know there's been a lot of back-end stuff going on in this fight and a lot of question marks, and will guys be fighting with their heads? Will they be fighting with anger? Will they be who knows what's going to happen here in this one? What we do know is the man to beat in this division is Pantoja. Is Kara France going to go ahead and get it done here? Or do you think when this is all said and done, Pantoja wins and Mr. Brandon Royval gets another shot at him?
Briefly, I stand corrected. Kai Kara France did fight Royval back in 2020. I don't know why I misspoke there, but Royval tapped him out in the second round. I love Pantoja. The guy always finds a way to win. I learned my lesson the hard way twice in trying to bet against him.
Yep.
I'm not going to do it a third time. Kai Kara France is different right now. The guy is fighting on a different level. He looks a lot better, and he's not knocking out nobodies. He just absolutely cooked Steve Urseg. The Amir Albazi fight, I don't know. I thought it could have gone either way. I don't think it was a robbery. Everyone's quick to say robbery. I had that going either way. But the truth is he doesn't fight very frequently. I mean, he fought once last year. He's not fought yet this year, and we're already in June. And he fought once in 2023. So he's had two fights since he fought Brandon Moreno back in 2022 as the co-main event. Not enough activity for me to bet on Kai Kara France here. Even though I think he's got a competitive edge here, I think he's got a legitimate not just a puncher's chance. He's got a little bit of a boxing edge here, especially with his power to make some things happen early and to, maybe to stagger Pantoja a little bit early. No, I'm not taking that. There's not enough here for me to bet on Kai Kara France. It doesn't make sense to me. I'm off this fight entirely. And on my predictions, I'm going to put Pantoja there. I'm going to put Pantoja as a prediction, but I'm not going to bet it either way.
Kenton, taking a look at it here, man, 83% of the bets so far coming in on Pantoja to get this one done. Obviously, we see damn near a plus 200 dog line here, 17% of the money. Are you looking for a flyer? Are you looking for value here on France? Are you going to go ahead and ride with Pantoja to get this thing done as well? And potentially maybe just stay off this fight if you're not liking the lines.
I mean, for the money line, I think I'm going to stay off of it. I think Pantoja is a pretty easy lock here. When it comes to Kai Kara France, I think his game plan, obviously his game plan is going to be striking here. He has an 88% takedown defense, and he's going to try to put that into play this coming fight. But I think when it comes down to it, Pantoja is just going to be able to out-wrestle him. And what I will say, if I'm going to bet on anything, I haven't really looked at the props at this yet, but I would probably say that this is going to be Pantoja by decision. And I say that because Pantoja said, I remember this after he fought Brandon Royval, won by decision. He said that he would be a safe champion. His priority is keeping that belt, not getting into dangerous situations or dangerous fights. And I think his goal here really is going to be take down Kai Kara France, wrestle, control, win a decision.
He absolutely is a position over submission fighter. There's no doubt. And I love that about Pantoja. as for the odds being what they are, minus 260 or whatever they are right now on Pantoja, look, I like Pantoja, but there are two factors here that set me back a little bit. He's been a champion for a bit now, and he hasn't really fought exactly top shelf talent in his last two fights. He had this guy from Ryzen come over who got absolutely smoked. 238. Yeah, I mean, at minus 160, I take it probably. I don't. If I were to take a flyer on this, I'd say Pantoja and over 2.5. It'll probably be somewhere in the neighborhood of even money. That little single fight parlay there. But yeah, there's the only negative mark on Pantoja that I have is how long he's had the belt against not real competition. We see what happens to champs is as they age and they're not fighting fresh blood. That's really a threat. Urseg obviously wasn't that big of a threat, and I keep mixing up Taira. Now I'm going to get canceled. But Asakura wasn't the biggest threat either. So yeah, Kai Kara-France is a legit opponent here, but he's got his holes too. Too many non-factors for me to bet it. As for being easy money, God bless, brother. I'm with you. I got Pantoja as my prediction, but I don't know. If I had to guess, I think he's going to backpack him this fight. I think the first round, Kai Kara-France is going to win, and rounds 2, 3, 4, and 5, Pantoja is going to ragdoll him, backpack him, and control the fight. Every time they separate, Kara-France will land something, and that's going to be it. It's going to be fairly typical in that regard, but there's too many factors for me to bet it.
What I would say is, I think there comes a question, though, with how Kai Kara-France has done in recent history. Is he necessarily even considered a legitimate threat or opponent? I mean, I do agree that in the last two title defenses that Pantoja has had, Kai Asakura and Steve Urseg was overhyped, and Kai Asakura was making his UFC debut, not really real threats to Pantoja. And Kai Kara-France is 1-2 in his last 3 fights. And those 2 losses coming to Brandon Moreno and Amir Albazi, and that 1 win coming to Steve Urseg, which we did just say was very overhyped and doesn't really seem to be a real contender. So I think I absolutely agree with you. And I think there are questions about whether or not Kai Kara-France can really compete in the UFC in the top ranks.
I love our boy Royval, and I know that he grew a lot since that Pantoja fight. It's shown significantly. But let us not forget, Pantoja 50-45 Brandon Royval in that fight.
Yes, he did.
And that was the biggest legit threat that he had in recent history. To your point.
And that's why I'm leaning more towards Kenton in this fight. Cheddar, I completely understand all your concerns here. And I do see a world where Kai Kara-France, like you said, exchange. All he's got to do is slip one in there. If he catches him right, it's game over. But if Royval couldn't catch him, I just don't think that Kara-France is going to catch him here. I don't want to say it's we're using the term lock. I don't want to say lock, but it's about as close as I have one on this card here in general. I just don't see a world that France wins. I don't think he submits him. I don't think he wins on the cards. If he wins, to me, it is because he catches him and Pantoja gets rocked and somehow Kara-France jumps on him, beats him in, and Pantoja looks at the ref and he's like, bro, why the fuck did you stop it? You know what I mean? That's about it. Other than that, I don't see how he loses the fight. So I'm going to say Pantoja. I'm not going to go with a method here. I mean, if you liked it to go the distance, I guess take Pantoja by decision. But I also think Pantoja can submit him in this fight. I wouldn't be surprised by a second, third round submission. So I'm going to go Pantoja all day long here. Once again, probably my favorite for the value, my favorite money line bet of the night, where I think you can do minus 238, put it with one other leg, and get yourself to plus money pretty quick in a parlay. So good luck to you guys in the co-main event of the evening. Moving on through to the main event of the evening. And let me just take a second to say, this is Cheddar's favorite fighter. This is one of Kenton's favorite fighters. It's one of my favorite fighters. Shout out to Cutman Brad Tate. I hope he's in the corner of Oliveira.
So
I got to get to an interview with him. A new interview with Tate coming very, very soon, folks. Stay tuned. Before the end of the year, it's going to happen. But all that said, here in the main event, Cheddar plus 350. on
I got him
Olives.
at plus 380 yesterday.
Um,
And I slammed
okay,
it.
currently plus 350 on DraftKings. Ilia
No, I
Topuria
know.
minus 455 at the moment. But like you said, I do see Oliveira up currently to plus 365 on some books. And I also see Topuria down to 475 on a
He
few books as well. So
the line
yeah,
dropped an average of about 15, 20 points overnight in the direction of
wow.
Oliveira. Not much when it's that far apart. 20 points at going from plus 380 or plus 370 to plus 350. That's not a huge jump, but if it means anything and if it trends in that direction, I just think that's public money. I don't think that's an indicator that like there's something that was found out. We saw the video. If you haven't seen it, recently within the last 2 weeks, Ilia Topuria has a cut under his eyebrow, above his eye, it's right here. That was stitched. So that's going to be something that Oliveira wants to open up. People look at these things and they try to come up with some kind of a whatever reasoning. Ignore it. This is not the fight to be looking at who has a cut, who has an injury. It's not going to last more than 5 minutes. I mean, it could get into the second or third round, but it isn't going the distance. And something like that isn't going to be a fighter. Isn't going to be a factor. A fighter like Max Holloway, Justin Gaethje fight, where somebody's going in with a cut, that's different. Those guys are going to exchange 250 significant strikes plus in that fight. Max Holloway's been known to put up 200-300 significant strikes on his own in a fight. So yeah, that stuff's going to matter. They're boxers. This fight is going to meet at the center, and they're going to bang until somebody drops, and then somebody's getting backpacked. If Topuria drops, which I don't think will happen first, but if that happens, he's getting backpacked and he's getting tapped in the first round. 100%. There's no question. He's getting tapped in the first round if he gets clipped. If Oliveira gets dropped, I think that Topuria honestly believes that his grappling is probably better than Oliveira's, and he will make the mistake of going into his guard. It'll give Oliveira a chance to recover and a chance to play jiu-jitsu, fight out of the guard, go for some submissions, avoid the significant strikes, throw up some triangles, try and do something. We did see what happened when Islam Makhachev in that fight, what happened there. Different build, different height, different reach, different style of fighter, different size, different weight, different everything. It's not the same. Ilia Topuria is Georgian, fine, and Spanish. He's got a Sambo background to some degree, but he's not Islam Makhachev. They're just different fighters. Charles is going to be taller. He's going to have a longer reach. His knees are long. Don't forget how long this dude's knees are. He sometimes throws knees hoping that you take him down. Hey, if I land, I land. But if I don't and I get taken down, you're in my guard. Good luck. It's a win-win. And I think Ilia Topuria, as confident as he is, he's a very smart fighter. But I think in this fight, he's going to be a little susceptible to taking the bait. I'm going to be honest here. My line on this fight was about minus 250, minus 225 to minus 250 for Ilia Topuria. I think there is some value, actually, on Oliveira. But I don't care if the line is even. I don't care if Oliveira is a minus 200 favorite and I make him a plus 200 dog. I don't care what the line is. I'm always betting on Charles Oliveira. It is the only fighter that I don't take any reason into when I bet that fight. I can have all the reasoning in the world. I'm betting Charles Oliveira every time. I don't care. You can chirp at me and tell me I'm an idiot later, but this is the one fighter that I get that pass with. And I've made that very, very clear over the years that I'm never going to fade Charles Oliveira. My favorite fighter of all time. Love his story. And I think that, there's a saying that I always use whenever Charles Oliveira fights. And I forget who coined it, but the most dangerous man in the ring is the one who believes that God is on his side. And that every time is Charles Oliveira or Bryce Mitchell, but that's a different story.
That's God and country right there.
That's redneck Jesus, baby.
I do want to ask you, and I know you as a bettor, I'm pretty damn sure you're fine with plus 380 on the money line. You don't care, good enough. Do you think it's a mistake for people to get greedy and go for the knockout or the sub or the decision here? Is it unnecessary because the money line's so juicy?
Michael Chandler may not be the same fighter he once was, but he was swinging for the bleachers the entire fight against Charles Oliveira, and they went about the distance, right? Did they go the distance, or they or 4 rounds or something? They went deep into the fight.
Went deep. Yeah.
And the second fight went to the distance.
It went the distance, yeah. I mean, any questions about Oliveira's gas tank are, null and void. I personally am not going to get greedy here. I think it's very greedy to try and take Ilia Topuria in round 1, Ilia Topuria in round 1 or round 2, Ilia Topuria by knockout. That's greedy. That's some disrespect to Charles. Put some respect on that dude's name. The dude has stood in there against boxer after boxer after boxer every single time, and he has shown up. And one other thing I want to mention here, if you're a real fight junkie and you really want to watch some film that's going to make sense going into this fight, this is going to sound really weird, but go watch Charles Oliveira's fight against Kevin Lee. That is the most stylistic match that I could possibly find, the most closely accurate stylistic matchup I could find for Ilia Topuria. They fight very similarly. They have a very similar build. Now, obviously, Ilia Topuria is miles better than what's his name? Now I'm forgetting names here. But Kevin Lee. But stylistically, that's what we're looking for. And just look how Charles Oliveira handled it. And that, I believe, was day 1 of his blonde hair era. So, I mean, all I'm saying is bring it home, full circle here, Charles. Iluminado por Deus do Bronx. I want to hear another Brazilian. I want to hear another Brazilian chant from the Brazilian broadcast booth. Charlie do Bronx. That's what I want to hear,
folks.
Man.
You have found Charles Oliveira fan. If you guys haven't figured it out yet,
if you haven't figured it out.
But Cheddar, I want to make a side bet with you. I don't think you're going to like it, but I have to do it. Right. So if Charles Oliveira gets knocked out, you got to go back to the Charles blonde hair
for his next fight. For his next fight, I'll do it.
For his next fight? Okay.
Yeah, I'll do the blonde hair
if he doesn't fight by Christmas, I get it on New Year's Day.
Fair. Done.
All right.
I'll do that.
That's a deal.
I mean, I know I'm going to lose it. I'm okay with that. Like, I know if I lose it, I'm okay
knockout
with
only,
that.
though. Knockout only.
Knockout only. In return, though, I got to work something up here. I don't know. I got to work something up in return here. I'll come up.
That's not part of the deal. You got a deal. You got about 90. You got about 90 seconds to think about it because Kenton's got to go.
If I win, I get nothing. That's it. Oh man.
No. Think about it. You got 90 seconds. Kenton, are you rocking the Charles Oliveira train, my man? Plus 350. Are you going to go ahead and fade one of your favorite fighters in the UFC?
Charles Oliveira is absolutely my favorite fighter, and it scares me. And I really want to bet on Charles Oliveira. What really worries me is we have seen the power of Ilia Topuria, and it would crush me if I watched Ilia Topuria hit Charles Oliveira and knock him out on the chin. So, given that concern, I don't think I'm going to go money line. I don't think I'm going to go either or. I'm just going to simply watch the fight, enjoy it, and pray that Charles Oliveira can pull it out. But I will say I do agree that this fight is not going the distance. Realistically, I think I could see either if Charles Oliveira can get to the back of Topuria, I think he could easily get a submission there, maybe in like rounds 2 or 3. On the other hand, in my nightmare scenario, I could also see in about round 3, Ilia Topuria landing a solid right hand. So yeah, I mean, as much as I hate to say it, I think Topuria might have the edge here. I wouldn't bet it, but for sure, this fight is not going the distance.
Well, gentlemen, I get to come in and be the bad guy because now I got blonde hair riding on this. So first things first, I'm going with a pure value bet, and it's not Charles on the money line, but it's damn close to the odds, plus 450. I'm going with the fight to go the distance. Now, if I lose, odds are Cheddar has blonde hair. It's a win-win for me. Maybe not a win-win for all you guys. It's a win-win for me. So I'm going to go with the distance. Yes, I do believe this is 2 guys that got chins. It's two guys that know how dangerous each other is. It's two guys that got gas tanks. Even though I agree with you, this could end any minute, any second of this fight. It could be lights out for either guy. But it's also two dudes that if I had to pick who's about to get knocked out, I don't know if I can pick that right now. So I'm going to go ahead and go the distance at plus 450. I'm also going to go with Topuria to win. However, I think you guys have nailed it. Minus 455. In what world is this guy minus 455 against Charles Oliveira? If you told me minus 225, I don't even think I'd fucking believe you. 455.
He's a featherweight? He's a featherweight.
Bro, I don't know if
Charles Oliveira is a welterweight walking around at 155 for 5 seconds on weigh-in day. I mean, the guy is going to be 178 pounds, 182 pounds when he's in there against a guy who's typically 145 on weigh-in day. It's going to be a massive size difference.
With a partial torn ACL, I still don't think Charles is plus 350 in this fight. I just don't. So
don't give me a heart attack like that ever again. Jesus.
Value-wise, I got to agree with you guys. I mean, it's Charles Oliveira all day long. Who am I pulling for? Charles. Who do I honestly think the value's on? Charles. Who do I think is going to win? I think Topuria is going to win. I just think this fight should be a lot closer to minus 175 for Topuria, something like that. He is more in his prime. He is more kind of built up for this moment right here. But every single time Charles goes to the octagon, I don't think, Cheddar, ever in the history of ever on one of our shows, I have faded Charles Oliveira in a fight. So like I said, so I'm gonna fade him, but I'm not gonna bet him because at minus 455, what's that gonna do for me? So I don't see it. So my big bet.
I know how to make this
big
fair.
bet's the distance.
I know how to make this fair.
Okay.
All right. If Ilia wins by submission or decision, bet's null and void. I got to make it fair on my end. Charles wins. If Charles wins at all, Charles money line wins in any method. Then I mean, it's you were originally saying Ilia Topuria has to win by knockout or blank, right? I'm just saying Charles wins.
I said knockout. He had to win by knockout.
He had to win by knockout. Yeah, and any other method you lose, right?
It's
Even if he wins
it's
by
void.
decision or whatever.
It's void.
It's void. Okay. So
yeah.
So I need Charles by finish. You don't know if he's going to knock him out or tap him. I mean, I could take tap. I'll take tap if you want. I hate doing submissions with Oliveira, but see, the guy who's supposed to tap out is Chandler, and then that's the one guy knocked out, right? But
yeah.
Would you do finish or does it have to be submission?
For me?
For Charles, from my side of the bet.
It's however you think he's going to win.
By finish?
I think Topuria is going to knock his ass out.
I think
I don't want him to, but he's
Charles
gonna.
under 3. How's that? Charles under 3. Under 2.5, I'll give you.
2.5 rounds. And if I lose, I got to go blonde?
No. For your next interview, whether with a fighter or with Brad Tate, you have to wear one of those 4-colored propeller hats and at the beginning of it say that you faded Charles Oliveira.
That's a bet.
You want me to go blonde? You got to wear a propeller hat and open the show with I'm wearing this ridiculous hat because I faded Charles Oliveira and I'm learning my lesson.
That's a deal.
That's a bet.
Done.
Charles and under 2.5.
I totally agree with Cheddar here about Oliveira winning. And I think you're making a risky bet here, Riggs. Because, I mean, you want to know the last time that I thought, oh, for sure, Charles is getting knocked out? That was against Dustin Poirier, his first belt.
Dustin sucks.
Ever since then, I have never made that bet again. I think you're taking a huge risk here.
Okay.
What's gonna happen is you're gonna see Charles Oliveira walk into that octagon, and for some psychotic reason, Ilia Topuria is in the red corner, and then you're gonna see Ilia get in there, and then you're gonna see them face off, and Charles is gonna be looking at him like this, and the color is gonna drain from your face. You're gonna be like, oh shit, he's got 25 pounds on this dude. I'm screwed.
Dog, if you were to ask me 1 to 10 how I'm feeling about it, it's about a 3. But I honestly believe, okay, so just so we're clear, final folks, really quickly, before we give you our final favorite bets of the night, if Topuria gets the knockout over Charles Oliveira, you go back to Charles Blonde. And
Platinum
if
Blonde.
Oliveira wins, I'm going to give you 3 full rounds. If he wins in round 1, 2, or 3 in any way, I got to do the propeller.
That's a deal. I'll give you this. If it's some kind of a DQ or no contest, we void it. That's not fair.
Okay. Deal.
Good
all right. Now, fellas, I got to ask
for you, but yeah.
Okay, I got to ask you guys really quickly, just for the people, your favorite single bet that we've given. We've given a lot of bets on this show. It could be a distance, a prop, a method, a money line, a dog, a favorite. If there was one thing that you told people, hey, put this in your parlay or take this straight, this is not going to lose. Cheddar, coming to you first, my man. What is your pick of the day?
I always go with a money line and an over. Right now, I really like, and a fight that we haven't talked about, I really like the over 1.5, maybe to start round 3 for Gregory Rodriguez and Jack Hermansson. Rodriguez getting up there in years, so is Hermansson. They're not going to be slugging it out. One's a wrestler, one's a boxer. It's very possible that Hermansson takes the thing to the ground early. Rodriguez does have jiu-jitsu acumen, and he's certainly no slouch on the ground. He's a really big dude. But at the end of the day, Hermansson's beaten some young bucks on the come up lately, including Joe Pyfer. So he's no stranger to fighting dudes who are just massive for the division. I like the over in that one. I'm going to pair that up with a money line somewhere. I'm not 100% sure which one it's going to be yet. But I tell you what, my biggest bet right now, I would take, if you want a prop that you can throw a good chunk on, Brandon Royval by decision. I don't know what odds that gets you right now, but if it's over plus 175, plus 150, that'd be a good one. If not, just take Royval on the money line.
You said decision for Royval?
Yeah, if it's like 175 or better.
220.
Yeah, I'd take that. My big bet is on Royval money line, but you want a prop that I would throw a good chunk on? That's my prop. But definitely, once I see the weigh-ins, I'll have that 2-legger that I always have every week, where it's one money line, one over, put them together, and it's around even money. That's my bread and butter.
And please remind the people where they can find you, my man.
Very easy. CB_UFC. Appreciate you guys.
There you go,
Only
folks.
on Instagram.
And quick reminder, as I always say, he does it for free. I charge you fuckers. He does it for free. So go take his picks. If you're going to go for me, I got you on all sports. You want UFC, get the free ones from the guy that does this day in and day out, taking the time to study film, doing the things that some of us don't always have time for. So anyway, my man always bringing the heat. But Kenton, your favorite play of UFC 317, Saturday night, June 28th. What you got?
There are a lot of very interesting ways you could go in terms of betting. I am going to say what I'm about to say. It might not come across as necessarily a lock or a bet, but this is a fight that I think is going to be very fun. And I think that a very reliable choice to go here is a knockout either way. But this is Haider Emil versus Jose Miguel Delgado. These are two fighters that are very young, just getting into their UFC careers. They're very new to the UFC. It's going to be these two young fighters just going out and they're going to stand and bang. That's what I believe is going to happen. So I believe either or by KO in round 2 is what I would say specifically.
Okay. All right. I'm going to do one that might make you fellas sick here, especially Cheddar. I'm going Felipe Lima by decision plus 120. For me here on a prop straight bet, trying to get you guys plus money. If you're going to go Lima, like I said, and you're not going to bet it, second round, I think you got to find a way to get a plus sign. Distance makes sense here. I might not be taking Peyton Talbot, but I will take him not to get finished here in this one. So go with Lima by decision. But gentlemen, anything else about UFC 317 you want to throw out there before we let the people roll out of here?
I'll throw one out there just because I feel like I'm leaving you high and dry without putting a bet out there. Give me Renato Moicano plus 3.5 with Hermansson Rodriguez over 1.5. It's plus 100 right now on. Are we allowed to say sports books or no? We good?
Yeah, we can. Go ahead.
On DraftKings. On DraftKings, It's over 1.5 for Rodriguez and Hermansson. Parlay it with Renato Moicano plus 3.5, not minus, plus 3.5. It's plus 100 on DraftKings.
There you go. All right, guys. Mr. Kenton Heidemann, you guys can find him at Kenton_H_Mr. Edward Boylan at CB_UFC. Myself at Rig Sports Talk, the Sports Forum on YouTube at The Sports Forum. Click that subscribe button, drop a like, tell us who your guys' favorite fighters are, favorite picks are for this UFC 317 card, and go ahead and find us sportsforummedia.com. Until the next time, Kenton, Edward, myself, this is Picking Winners. Good luck to you guys. UFC 317.